Okay, so while I'm at it, it's hot with this jacket on. I want to say that the whole fucking thing is a lie. Okay, everything in the official narrative that's in the textbooks is a lie. All of it, from head to toe, is a lie. And one of the biggest lies and most powerful lies is the Holocaust. I challenge you to ask yourself, how can the most persecuted group of people in the world be the most powerful and the richest? How is that possible? Who is the most powerful people in the world? Who are the most rich landowners in the world? Okay, they are Jewish converts, and they're not Semitic either. And if you're Jewish, I love you. You're probably a friend of mine. I've known a lot of very good Jews. But it's not anything against you personally. It's just against your leadership, and you know how corrupt your leadership is. So I'm not going to apologize for criticizing that. Your leadership is the worst, and they are the most powerful, and they are the richest people in the world. What they're doing to the Palestinians is unforgivable. It is absolutely atrocious, and I know that a lot of the Israeli people are not with it. They don't like it. And a lot of the Israeli people protest because they don't like seeing that wall that divides the Palestinian people from the Israeli nation. So the Palestinians are in a prison in their own country on their own ancestral land. That's what they're trying to do here. They want to do that here with walls and building camps and stuff, and blocking off the native people from their resources, blocking off the native people from our land. This is my land. I'm native to this land. This is my land. This is my ancestral territory. All Black Americans are originated here. We are the Indians, and we are also the so-called slaves, even though we were really more like, but I mean, it's just a lie. Everything is a lie. That they brought Africans here to slave away on plantations. They didn't need to. There were enough Black people here, believe me. There were so many Black people here, and we had agriculture, and we knew how to farm the land. We knew we grew tobacco. The crops that they got rich off of, sugar, tobacco, corn, those were our crops. All they did was come over here, the colonialists, and they're the same people. It is the same Bolshevik people that came over here to colonize this new world, right? And they made this into their new world. It's the Illuminati, okay? All of the official narrative is false. Pick up any textbook and just flip it to the opposite side. If they say that the Africans were slaves, then just flip it to that the Americans were slaves. Okay, the Native Americans were slaves. The Black Native Americans were the slaves. Okay, we were the indentured servants. We were the ones who did all the work. Okay, we are the ones who made this the richest country in the world, not the Africans. In fact, there were many Black American Indians who were taken over to Africa to work on some plantations and stuff over there, and to the Caribbean and all over the place. If you want to know more about that subject, then I will recommend to you Kuti Mayo. That's Kurimeo, Kuti Mayo, and it's a vast topic. But Kuti Mayo has one of probably the most in-depth collection of books on the subject. He has very old, very precious books from those, years of slavery time, and it's all in writing. And there is zero evidence that there were any Africans brought here to work as indentured servants. There were some Black Europeans that were brought here that may have come up from Africa into Europe, and that were brought over here with some of the some of the colonizers, and then a lot of them became Black landowners and stuff. But that's a very good story. The Holocaust story is completely bunko, 100%. Okay. 100%. The 6 million Jews didn't happen. What did, and I know that I'm going to be trashed on Facebook for this. I don't really care, because the truth is the only thing I care about. And I feel very fortunate and very blessed that I was able to get the truth while I could. It was all over you. Well, it still wasn't even that much on YouTube, because I saw it get progressively less and less as I investigated the topic. But what was happening was that Stalin was killing people and forcing people into these camps. And in these camps, they had a problem with lice, head lice, and bed bugs. And they were infesting people with all of these plagues. And a lot of people starved to death in their homes. And people were, it was a slaughter. It was a bloodbath. And some people say that, estimate the number to be 20 million Russian people were slaughtered. And this was the same. These are the same Bolshevik forces that also did the same thing in China later on with Mao. But I just want to mention that as you're researching Hitler, you have to you can start at the place of typhus, because typhus is a disease that is a deteriorating disease. It kills. Typhus kills, and it's carried on lice, head lice. So Hitler was welcoming all of these refugees into the West because he was their only option. Stalin had control over the eastern side of Europa, and those people are just straight up, bad. They are, Claytonist. I don't want to say the word because I don't want you to, whatever. I can't really say everything I want to say, and I'm probably saying too much, and hopefully you'll get to see this. But research typhus, okay? It was typhus that meant that you had to take everybody's clothes and burn them. You had to shave everybody's head. You had to douse people with pesticides just to try to try to get the problem under control, because these people were infested. They showed up, they were sick, they were dying, they were infested. These were refugees from Eastern Europe. The trek across was very long. It was just like the Underground Railroad. A lot of people helped these refugees get across Europe all the way over into the West. So because they were just being slaughtered. They were being slaughtered. The Bolshevik people, the Bolshevik forces. It's a long story, but they were the Khazar, K-A-Z-A-R, a Khazar. Some of you know it as Khazarian. Those people, they had a vendetta against Russia because they were kind of Turkish people, but they had a home in Russia historically. But because of their evil ways, because of their Talmudic ways of human sacrifice and terrible things that they do, they were kicked out of Russia. And so they went west, and Germany embraced them. Okay? Germany embraced the Jews. The Jews went all across Europe from country to country trying to find a home, but none of the Eastern European countries would accept them because they were so evil. But by the time they got all the way to the West is just like, hey, we're the melting pot. We invite everybody here. It's all good. They were America. It was just like America. We just let everybody, we give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? Until they prove otherwise. And this was what happened. And as soon as those Khazar people, because they're Jews, okay, they are what is called Jews today, but I don't like calling them Jews because they are not the historical Jews. They are not the Jews that the Bible speaks of. They are not Semitic people, and Semitic people are black people, and they were considered low on the food chain. They're not rich, they're not Alan Greenspan or something, or Nancy Pelosi. No, they're not none of those people. Okay, the real Jews are humble people who follow God's laws, and they had a very closed off community, and so the Jewish converts, because they had to choose a religion in order to be able to stay in Russia at the time before they ended up getting kicked out anyway, but they had to choose one of the Abrahamic religions, so Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, and they chose Judaism for a lot of reasons, and one of them is because the Jews are God's chosen people in the Bible, and also that's the best. You want to be God's chosen people if you have to choose something. And also they were the poorest people. They were kind of like the black sheep of the Christian world, of the Abrahamic world. So they were it was easy to take their identity and just enslave them And that's exactly what happened. So these Jewish converts, which is what I will call them, Jewish converts. I'm not going to call them Jews because they're Khazar. Actually, they're Khazarian. They're Eastern European, Eastern Roman holy, unholy Roman Empire, Turkish people. So um, they went to Germany, and Germany embraced them. And if you ever listen to Yiddish, that's a Germanic language. They took on the German identity. They took on the German language. And their leadership had a secret hatred for the Germans, because the Germans were very, very conservative. They have very strong family values. And so these Talmudic forces of decay, these Babylonian devils, they started to infiltrate the German society with homosexuality and bestiality and human sacrifice and all the shit that they had done all along the way across all the way to the West. That was the reason they got kicked out of every other country. So when you hear that Hitler hated the Jews, Hitler hated the Jewish leadership. Okay? Hitler did not appreciate the cultural Marxism. If you don't know about cultural Marxism, look it up, study it. Cultural Marxism. It's where the subversive forces decay the society from within itself. They turn people onto drugs and alcohol. They get people hooked on sex. They get people to compromise their values. They compromise the people that way from inside by seducing them with evil demons of lust. And so this was happening in Germany, and Hitler said, no, we don't, this ain't who we are. We don't want this identity. So we're gonna start shutting this shit down. And everybody was on Hitler's side, by the way. Okay, and there were every race of people living in Germany. And people came from all over the world to fight in the SS army. People came from Asia, they came from Africa. And a lot of Africans know this story. And a lot of Africans actually named their children Adolf, because Hitler was a hero. He was a G, he was a gangster. And he was kind of on his own, although the American forces were helping him at first. Which they got infiltrated, and they got turned towards the enemy, and they turned away from what was right and what was good, because Hitler was helping these people. So when you see concentration camps, so-called concentration camps in Germany, you might see people that were dying from typhus. But before they took all the videos down off of YouTube, I saw a bunch of interviews of people who were in the concentration camps who were not who were so blessed to be in those concentration camps. Hitler had playgrounds for the kids. He had music. He had piano. He had instruments for the people to play. He had a stage for them to do stage plays, theatrical things. He fed them well. He was good to the refugees. He took really good care of the refugees. He didn't kill anybody. Didn't slaughter anybody. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't subversive forces within, because there always is. There are always evil. There's always some evil in every powerful organization. That's the nature of power. It attracts evil. But the Nationalist Socialist Party was actually the salvation for the German people, and I would say for the whole world, because if Stalin was unchecked and just allowed to, which is kind of sad to see that Germany is now under the control and under the rulership of sort of that communistic type of mindset. Angela Merkel, just allowing all refugees from everywhere, the poorest people in the world, to flood into Germany, and they have to feed all those people. That's a communistic, type of thing, and this whole guilt trip that the German people have to walk around with, that they slaughtered a bunch of Jews. It's not true. It's not true. In fact, after Stalin locked up all the Russian people and slaughtered so many Russian people, then the Jews came back into Russia. So that's why you see so many Jews are Russian Jews. There are very many Russian Jews, because of that. Because there was just a huge influx. Stalin was a Jew, as far as I'm concerned. When I see Stalin, I see a Jew, and that the whole Bolshevik thing was a Jewish convert thing. The evil side of it, though, because of course there's a good side. There's a very bright side, and I admire some Jewish converts tremendously, but I know that in order for them to maintain their lifestyle and to keep their wealth and everything, they kind of have to play along, and they kind of just have to act like so I forgive them for that. But there are a lot of Jewish converts that come out and speak out against Bolshevism and against Zionism, against political Zionism, which is the same thing as Bolshevism, which is the same thing as Nazism. It's just, the evil forces of the world are in many places. There are many places, many languages, and they all have the same agenda. And their agenda is to enslave the human race. And thought policing is a huge piece of that. So, I wanted to mention about typhus. That was kind of what my motivation was about this video, because a lot of people die from typhus. A lot of people wasted away because it was a disease that would waste you away. If they didn't catch it soon enough, then yeah, you would waste away. You would essentially not be able to. It would look like you were starving to death, even though you were eating, because your organs were getting deteriorated from the inside. Typhus is a terrible disease, so I highly recommend researching typhus and try to comprehend for a second that Hitler was helping these people. Okay, he was helping the refugees to escape from the East, from the communism of Stalin. Russia was like the United States. It was the best country on the earth. There was very much prosperity. It was happening. It was popping. It was cracking. It was on. It was on in Russia back in the early 20th century. And I would even say earlier than that, because I've been reading a book lately that's from 150 years ago, a Russian book, and man, it was a happy place. It was a great place, but it was like America. There was a lot of freedom, and people were developing their individuality, their talents, their skills, their abilities. It was multicultural. They had a very rich Christian heritage there, that was very Orthodox Christianity, very strong family values, everything the enemy hates, and especially since the enemy was kicked out of Russia. I'm just trying to put a little picture together for you. The Khazar regime, the Khazarian mafia, they were kicked out of Russia, and when they were kicked out, Russia was just thriving. They didn't have those subversive forces in their country anymore. They said, we see who you are, we see what you're all about, we don't want to get out. So once they got rid of that evil force, that deteriorating force in their society, they really thrived, in the absence of it. And so they were just like America. And so I'm just going to leave it there, because because if you read the Gulag Archipelago, you will get some insight into Russia and America. And another thing I want to mention is that this was where I'm at here in the Pacific Northwest. This was Russian territory all the way up until like the 1700s, which was everything happened all at the same time. This territory that I'm at was not available to the Western European settlers, or to the settlers. And I really want to emphasize that the people that came here and enslaved the people here, they weren't just normal Western European people. They were political Zionists. They were Bolsheviks. They do it everywhere they go. They did it in China, and they're still doing it in China. And China has right now probably, the numbers are estimated at 20 million Uyghur Muslims in prison camps there, and they're raping and torturing those people in China right now. And it's the same people. Evil is evil is evil is evil. And this doesn't reflect poorly on those communities of people who have that kind of leadership. I'm not saying anything bad about the Jewish converts. Like I said, I love them. They're some of the most interesting people. They're very private and secretive, and I understand why. They got a lot of secrets to keep. I do understand that. But it doesn't reflect on them. It just, whatever. I don't have to justify that anymore, I don't think. But I just wanted to mention that if you look at maps prior to the 1700s of the United States, you'll see that the whole western part is not known. It says territory unknown, because they couldn't cross that. This was all Russia right here. Alaska, all the way, Alaska, Vancouver, all of this whole western side. And I have a feeling that even more than that, it was probably almost the entire Canadian territories, and much of the northern and western territories of the United States were under the governance of Russia, if not the whole United States. And they probably had the Black American Native Indian people as servants. They probably had a serfdom system, because they had serfdom in Russia. But people got to keep their identities, and these are things that you'll never find in the books because it's all been scrubbed. But I've been listening and paying attention to the things that do remain and trying to put a picture together. And it appears to me that before the Western, um, or before the evil slave people came over here to enslave the people here, the Russians were already here, and they were fighting against the Russians. That's what the Civil War and those wars were about, fighting the Russians. It wasn't about, because the Russians had a lot of the people on their side. The native people were on the side of the Russians because they saw what the other people did to their communities, and how they enslaved the people. So the good guys always get the support of the people. The Russians were the good guys in the American story, and they got wrote out of history. You won't see it anywhere, but you will see maps that says territory unknown. Why was it unknown? Why couldn't they just walk over there? They couldn't, because it was off limits. Hitler was a good guy. I'm not saying that he wasn't a Freemason. Obviously all leaders are. And so is Martin Luther King too, by the way. But some of them have done really great things in spite of coming from these secret societies and stuff like that. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But Hitler was a nationalist socialist. He loved his country, he loved his people, and he loved his culture, and he wanted to preserve that because it was something worth preserving. It was beautiful. The German culture was beautiful. They were very much into achievement and sports and cooperation, working together. They had a lot of female values. It was great. It was wonderful. So I guess that's all I want to say for now. If anybody has any questions or wants to talk to me about any of this, I can point you in the right direction as to where to. Well, I think I already did, but if you want to know my opinions on anything, just holler at me. Peace.